welcome everyone to the Utkarsh Parashar Show Today. We are with Mr. Arun Mathur, who is a well-known personality in the field of accountancy, and he is a partner at Gerald Duthie Co.LLP, and where he provides professional services to the diverse group of clients. And Mr. Mathur is also owner and lead instructor at UltimQuest Knowledge. He has been delivering corporate trainings on improving governance, ethics, internal control, performance management, and related topics. And he provides live online training through CPA bodies across Canada and Bermuda. So, first of all, thank you very much, sir, for accepting my invitation.
Thank you for inviting me, Utkarsh. It's a pleasure to talk to you and to speak to the young CA students and others in India.
Thank you very much, sir. Sir, first I would like to know what is your journey from the beginning? Like, what's your CPA journey?
So I started out of university with a Bachelor of Commerce from the University of Windsor, which is across from Detroit. I joined a firm called Clarkson Gordon, which changed its name to EY. So in those days, it was one of the big 8 firms. Now it's one of the big 4 firms. I got my CA back in 1978, long time ago. I became an audit manager in that company. And after my first 4 years, I specialized in computer audit and continued client work in the area of computer audit. Then I got into the national office of the firm, developing firm policy. I stayed in the firm just around 10 years, maybe 10 and a half years. And then on a very accidental meeting, I left the firm, I left the profession, and I became a commercial real estate developer. So I started buying land, rezoning land. I started buying and selling commercial properties. I did that for a number of years. And many years later, I went back into the profession, joined a smaller firm, and that's the firm you mentioned, Gerald Duthie. So it's a much smaller firm, only 4 or 5 partners. And we are working with a different type of client base than we did with the big firm with EY. Over all these years, I've been involved with corporate training at the EY office. I've been training at various colleges and universities. Many years ago, I started this company, UltimQuest Knowledge. So we're doing it now in a much bigger way.
Yeah. So, what are the options for an Indian accountant who wants to go and work in Canada?
That's such an interesting question. So what I see sitting here in Toronto, what I see is that we're in a very unusual position in the sense that the market demand for CAs is very high. And we seem to have a labor shortage. So to give you a couple of anecdotes, one person approached us like brand new from India. And I think this person was very persistent, approached everyone in our company. So I was talking to one of my partners. I said, I got this resume and this person is interested in joining our company. And my partner told me that that person has already joined our company. So it's just amazing how quickly things have worked.
Yeah.
As I said, it's very unusual because the market is not like that normally, right? We actually have someone else from India who approached me just last week, and she's arriving in June. She's a CA from India, and it's amazing. Like, I'm already engaging with her. She sent her resume. So this is very, very unusual that our market conditions are that strong. But of course, you know, as you might realize, new immigrants coming in, they have to adapt, and a slightly different way of doing things in every country. So there is that part of it as well.
Okay. I add another question here. Like,
so I guess if you were asking my advice, I get out there, email, through LinkedIn, and and I think, as I'm saying, the market here is very strong, and Indian CAs are highly respected, and we understand how difficult it is to get the designation. So definitely anyone who's interested, I think it's a very good opportunity and a good market.
Now in India, like ICI, our institute has signed the MRA with CPA Canada.
That's right.
Yeah, so and I add another question here, like what are the scopes for ACCAs?
Uh, I'm not 100% sure. I'm less familiar with that. I know that's another accounting body, and it
Mm-hmm.
is there in Europe and the UK and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Here, as you know, I don't know if you know, but about 8 years ago, the profession merged in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So prior to that, we had CA, CMA, and CGA. Those three bodies merged and created the CPA
Mm-hmm.
designation and the CPA brand.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not an expert on this, but each of these bodies would have had reciprocal arrangements and would have had agreements, as you mentioned, in the past. So I'm not sure how much of that has carried over, how much of that is not carried over. Uh, so ACCA, my understanding is it's another accounting designation out of Europe.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen some of those people in the Caribbean. I think they're also in India.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a little bit different, but I'm really not an expert to answer that.
Okay, no worries. Our next question is, what's the one thing you wish you would have known before begin your career? What's
One thing I wish
yeah.
I had known. Well, that's an interesting question. I think many people join our profession with a bit of a blinders, right? Like we are
Hmm.
aware of accounting and audit and tax
Yes.
and these types of hard skills and these types of disciplines and so on. So I
Yeah.
would say, as a young person, I entered the profession knowing that this was very challenging. You had to pass the exams. There was a lot of hurdles. I was aware of I was aware of the requirements. I was aware of the challenge and the examinations and the difficulty. I
Mm-hmm.
think what I was not aware of was all the broad career options that were actually available, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, for example, when I reflect on my 45 years, what I see is I'm very interested in public speaking. I'm interested in community service. I'm interested in training and all of these things. So these things arose over my career. Like I was not aware of it when I started.
Yeah.
So if, for example, like say if I was your age and someone asked me this question, what do you hope to do? I probably would not have thought of all that, right? Like I would have said, I'm going to become a partner in EY or something like that,
Yeah.
because we enter the profession with that kind of aspiration. So it's a very, very huge profession. There's lots and lots of different things you can do.
Okay. What is your biggest failure and what did you learn from it?
Sorry, say that again.
Yeah. What is your biggest failure and what did you learn from it?
Oh wow, okay. So I'm a very unusual person. I'm actually a champion of failures. I believe in failure. I believe in failing. So I would say, looking at it through that lens, I would say that there are a series of failures that bring us to where we are, right? Nobody talks about this. Everybody talks about success, right? So in my case, I would say that I tried many, many different things.
Mm-hmm.
So as I mentioned to you, I tried becoming a land developer,
Mm-hmm.
rezoning land, dealing with
Mm-hmm.
government approvals, very complex process, right?
Yeah.
To give you an example, here in Canada,
Mm-hmm.
I rezoned a farm property to residential, right?
Uh-huh.
It took me 9 years, right? A lot of people would not have that kind of patience, right?
Nice.
So when we sold the property to a builder, I said to him, I said, I set out to do this in 3 or 4 years. It took me twice as long and I'm feeling unhappy. He started laughing. He said, we have parcels of land, we've worked our entire lives and we fail, right? So the thing is, failure is part of success, right? If we don't fail, if we don't try, then we're in our comfort zone, we're not getting out there. So for example, I got my CA designation. I did a lot of audit work. I'm not a tax expert, so I did enough to pass the exams, and I know basic tax. But what I'm getting at is that the knowledge we gain and the failures that we I guess it creates suffering, it creates rejection, it creates regret. All of that makes us much stronger. It makes us better human beings, right? So I mean, like I believe very strongly in failure. Like I think people should be bold. They should take risk. I think people should try things. And whether you succeed or fail is not in our hands, but even if you fail, you will learn from that.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? So you'll become better. So to give you one example, you asked about one failure. I actually spoke in a wedding in New Jersey many, many years ago, and I had planned to make my speech funny, right? I had heard somebody speaking and I thought, this is really nice, right? So here I'm addressing a group of like 400 or 500 people, and our whole family from Toronto went there, and I'm standing up and I'm speaking, and the whole thing I said felt completely flat, right? Like it was not funny. It was not at all good. The reason was that people were starving, right? People were starving because no food was served. It was very late in the evening. I actually had missed lunch because when they were serving lunch, I was doing some work in the wedding planning and all that. So I myself was starving. But what's interesting is, like, nobody booed me, nobody yanked me off the stage. I actually terminated my speech midway and just thanked them and walked away. But I mentioned that to you because I've seen that the worst case scenario is that you don't die, right? Like you don't die on the stage. Like technically you die because your things didn't get across. But for me, I actually talk about that because it's something that I did and I learned from it. One of the things I learned is you have to be happy when you're speaking. You cannot be starving. You cannot be unhappy. And the same thing with the audience. Like our audience was so starved that one of my family members said that if they don't serve the food in 5 minutes, I'm going to order a pizza and have it delivered in the wedding hall. And actually, I know 2 people who left the hall because they had young children. They went back to the hotel just to eat, right? So you learn from everything, right? You learn from the failure.
Definitely. So what advice would you give to someone trying to pursue a career similar to yours?
Sorry, advice to young people?
Yeah, advice to anyone who is pursue career similar to yours.
Okay, so there are many many things that can be said. I'm just trying to see. So I think one of the things I'm realizing, and I'm kind of reflecting on my own life here, we want to think about ourselves as individuals, right? So our schools, our parents, our like we have certain expectations. Okay, you want to become a CA, you want to become this, and so on. But I think each one of us should think about what is it that makes us happy, what is it that we enjoy doing. So you address yourself as an individual and think about what activity or what things do we enjoy doing, right? So each one of us is different, and it's important for us to identify that, right? So you don't want to just follow the crowd, or you don't want to do out of expectation or something. So I'm suggesting we should find our passion. We should identify what are our skills, what are our strengths. So, we all have strengths and weaknesses. We can build on our strengths. And I think it's important for us to identify our strengths. So if you're not clear on this, I'm actually recommending that you talk to your teachers, talk to your family, talk to people around you who have seen you, who can talk about it. So, for example, I actually had someone say to me many, many years ago that like something to the effect that I should be speaking publicly. Like he said it in a much more complimentary way. And I didn't even think of that because I just said, oh, I like doing it. But he actually pushed me and said, you should do this, right? So our elders can help us to find our passions. The second point I would say is that we should not be looking for shortcuts, right? That nothing worthwhile in life is going to be easy. So if you look at the CA exams, for example, this is a challenge, right? I don't think any CA student or any person who passes the exam would turn around and say, oh, that was easy. It didn't take any effort. It's not like that, right?
Yeah.
So I'm saying don't look for shortcuts, right? Like people talk like that. Sometimes people think like that. But anything in life that is worthwhile is going to require effort. So be ready to put in that effort, be committed. And related to the same thing, I'm saying like we should take a long-term view, right? So we don't want to do something that gives us instant gratification, like we want something right now. So again, the CA exams is a perfect example. It takes a lot of effort. And once you clear that, then it creates momentum. It gives you a platform. You can then go and do other things and so on. And it takes you on a path which is a very positive, very, very good path. So what I'm saying is take a longer term view of your life. One of the other values that I'd like to share is this idea of learning and continuous learning. So what I'm getting at is be curious about life, be curious about different things. Don't just say, well, I'm an accountant and this is what I want to be good at. I remember when I was a student, I took courses in communication arts, I took courses in economics, I took courses in psychology, anthropology. I took a whole bunch of different courses because I was curious, I wanted to learn. So one thing that happens when you're curious and you have a learning kind of mindset is that you're exposing yourself to different things. And some of those different things may actually be what you want to do. And I think also with the way that the global economy is going, the way that the world is going, continuous learning is pretty much necessary in order for us to stay relevant, in order for us to be future-proof, right? So for example, in the old days, if you could do bookkeeping, that was a huge thing, right? There was a demand for bookkeepers. Now we have software that does the bookkeeping. You could be really good in tax, but now maybe we have tax software where people plunk in their numbers and the software has that. So we have to continuously be ahead of the skill sets so that we're relevant, we have something for the marketplace. So I mean, this is my kind of thinking along these lines. I believe very strongly in ethics. So along with taking a long-term view, I think we should work on doing what is right, what's good for the community. I always look for things that will create value, will benefit everyone. It's the idea that you take action that helps everybody. So you're not taking action that helps you and hurts someone else, right? So that's the way I think. I also think we should work for the betterment of communities. So that could be our local community, that could be within the industry, that could be within your family and your locality, whatever. But there's always things that we should be thinking about to improve the community. So I hope some of that was useful.
Actually, do accountants need to learn programming? Is Python useful for accounting?
Interesting question. So again, many, many years ago, I decided to specialize in computer auditing because I saw that as an emerging issue. And this is decades ago, right? So, and I can imagine today that knowledge that I gained back then is probably common knowledge because you need that just because everything is done by computer. Whether you need to know programming, I'm not 100% sure. I can see many emerging fields. So the automation and the programming is one part of it. We also have ESG. We have a whole bunch of other things going on. Globalization is going on. I also think we need to have, for example, soft skills, right? Leadership skills,
Yeah.
decision-making skills, public speaking skills.
Yeah.
It's not part of accounting, audit, and tax. So
Yeah.
to answer your question on the programming,
Mm-hmm.
I would think it would help. Like it would be, if you were interested, right? Like I'm not a technical person myself, but if you were interested and curious and so on, that would be a really good. Like I'm not saying it's necessary,
Mm-hmm.
but if you were interested in that, then you could. It's like a niche, right? You could
Yeah.
take advantage of that niche.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, what are some great resources that helped you along the way?
So, I'm kind of old school, right? So we have the internet today, which we didn't have when I was growing up.
Yeah.
But I'm very passionate about learning. I'm very passionate about reading. So
Mm-hmm.
I've read lots of books as I was coming along. I've read biographies. I've read a number of classics and self-help books, motivational books, things that talk about attitude and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So what I find is, it's not like a cause and effect relationship that we can identify, but when we're reading and learning, these ideas are going into our brains, right? So they're
Yeah.
latent in the back of our head somewhere.
Yeah.
And then when situations arise, we act according to what we've learned and what we think about.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I'm consciously aware of certain things. So, for example, Dr. Stephen Covey wrote a book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I read that book 3 times. I was that impressed, right?
Okay.
But now those 7 habits are inside my brain, right? So if I'm going into a meeting, I'll actually stop and say, okay, which one of these habits might help me to do better in this meeting? And then I'm going in and applying what Dr. Covey said like 25 years ago, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So like I can't really, like today, of course, knowledge is available, right? The internet is there, Google is there,
Yeah.
Wikipedia is there. Like we can learn so much. It's at our fingertips, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I would say you try and associate with people that you respect, read the books, read the summaries, listen to the podcasts, all of that. And as I mentioned already, like I have a fairly broad way of looking at it. So I'm not trying to become a technical expert in one field. But one of the things I love to do is to see how we can pick up an idea from another discipline, whether it's economics, whether it's psychology, engineering, or whatever. Like take an idea from another discipline, apply it to our discipline, and see if it helps, right?
Yeah. Okay, so last question is, in your opinion, what is success?
So I see success as a feeling of happiness, a feeling of joy, a feeling of fulfillment.
Hmm.
And success actually is different for different people. So, in India, we had the movie The Three Idiots, right? So
Yeah.
they were looking at this idea of the rat race, right? That you
Yeah.
have to do this, you have to do that, you have to get ahead of your pack.
Hmm.
So this is something I feel very, very strongly about. Like I'm not in the rat race. I'm not trying to have the biggest house and the biggest car. Like I'm not in a competition with anyone. So to me, success is about finding fulfillment and happiness. And that's unique for each person. So for me, it relates to family life. For me, it relates to control over my time. And for example, now over the years, I've identified as public speaking and training as something that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
So I'm putting more time and more effort in that. I'm divesting myself from other things that I could have done. I love playing golf. So for me, like an ideal day is like, teaching in the morning, playing golf in the afternoon,
Yeah.
having dinner with my wife, and that's a wonderful life, right?
Yeah.
I think, if you look at the duration of life, The financial success is important. The educational success is important. But I think finding a work that we enjoy doing, I think that would be the biggest success, right?
Yeah,
If
yeah,
we enjoy the work that we do,
that would be
that would bring fulfillment and joy. That would bring a good feeling, versus going home going home after work and feeling tired and exhausted, almost like an artist, right? Like an artist
yeah,
engrosses themselves in their art, and they don't notice time, they don't notice tiredness or hunger or anything like that, right?
yeah. Okay, so where can our listeners find you online?
So I'm quite active on LinkedIn. We do have a website, UltimQuest KnownledgeInc. Recently, we joined Instagram. We're getting sort of current with all the platforms. I can see myself doing TikTok pretty soon as well. We used to make fun of TikTok like it was something for entertainment, but it's
Yeah,
actually being used.
yeah,
What I'm trying to do actually is to reach out and share ideas, and this is what I do in my training right across Canada, and I've done conferences in India and Malaysia and in other places. So the idea is to connect with people, share ideas. Hopefully, people will benefit.
hmm,
And it's amazing when we talk to people how much we pick up from the other side, right? So I'm
yeah,
constantly learning, sharing ideas. My whole thing is to share ideas that are useful,
hmm,
that someone else can implement and can benefit, right?
yeah,
So we're quite active doing that. We have all these on-demand courses, we have live courses.
yeah.
So I'm getting more and more active. We did a conference in February last year in Calcutta. Wonderful, wonderful experience. I did one in Malaysia this March. So yeah, so we're gradually getting more active. I like to post regularly on LinkedIn, and I find a lot of valuable things available on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, sir, for your valuable time. And thanks for listening, everyone. If you enjoyed this episode, you'd like to help support the podcast, and please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leaving a rating and review to catch all the latest from me. You can follow me on Instagram and also follow Sir on Instagram. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you very much. It was a real pleasure speaking with you.
Yeah.
And your listeners are welcome to email me or contact me. I'll be very happy to respond to any questions they have.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Nice meeting you.